Let us execute an immediate, sweeping analytical vector shift away from coastal neighborhood containment zones, weaponized fertility industry secrets, and the medical cover-ups of California canals, and plunge straight into the high-octane calculation-heavy tracking grids of elite high society compound liquidations, weaponized luxury party containment matrices, and the fiercely protective, dangerously fragile world of an endangered female operative running a raw tactical survival loop. We are crossing the threshold directly into the hyper-monitored, blood-slicked parameters of an exclusive, isolated multi-millionaire gathering, exploring the lethal analytical parameters of an intense, trust-shattering deception matrix with The Last Party, the exceptional, pulse-pounding psychological thriller masterpiece engineered by the absolute, undisputed sovereign of dark psychological warfare, razor-sharp narrative misdirection, and high-velocity domestic dread, A.R. Torre. This high-stakes narrative tracking sequence delivers an exceptional look at an operational crossroads where a fierce, hyper-vigilant primary asset running an unyielding safety loop, a calculating, manipulative shadow network of wealthy predator assets running a high-stakes proximity tracking and permanent liability extraction routine, and an absolute defense against a terrifying institutional extortion ledger collide at terminal velocity. Let us map the strategic narrative grid. If you are an elite enthusiast of high-octane, slow-burn psychological thrillers where an endangered, hyper-observant female protagonist must navigate an absolute maze of rigged high society guest lists, corrupt local law enforcement standoffs, and a deadly ring of active personal frame-ups while running a blind survival loop inside a completely compromised estate ecosystem where an analytical mind uses deep behavioral profiling, calculating penthouse suite boundaries, and absolute emotional stamina to outmaneuver an invisible predatory executioner network, and where the author utilizes an incandescent, glorious anniversary gala turns into a fatal locked gate trap where every billionaire guest has a lethal motive and the host is the ultimate target, diagnostic routine to test our hero's structural limits. This book is engineered to lock you in. Torre completely dominates the high-concept rich people secrets meets suffocating whodunit paranoia puzzles dynamic, capturing the heart-racing intellectual momentum, suffocating domestic paranoia, and heavy deductive depth popularized by genre varks like Lucy Foley, Ruth Ware, B.A. Paris, and Freedom McFadden, while treating realistic forensic cover-up logistics, complex multi-perspective alignment arcs, and protective high-density extraction grids with absolute technical mastery. The narrative tracking grid zeroes in on the highly volatile calculation-heavy baseline of our central legendary powerhouse asset, operating under a severe calculation-heavy handicap of intense blackmail exposure, systemic social isolation logs, and a hyper-visible targeting canvas within an elite host's exclusive residential database. Behind our protagonist's rigorous social routing footprints, defensive conversational shields, and sharp observation metrics lies an intricate matrix of hidden faction allegiances, deeply buried high society friction, and sharp high-stakes tactical maneuvers. Her collective defense mechanisms are locked down tight following a high-stakes past timeline betrayal, her entire analytical focus strictly consumed by monitoring sudden threat vectors from an unseen upper-crust predator, parsing complex behavioral shifts from corrupt wealthy handlers, and shielding her vulnerable professional sanity node from being entirely wiped out by a ruthless elite cleanup offensive. The spark ignites when an unexpected high-frequency structural anomaly breaches her active scanning perimeter. During a lavish, high-density anniversary celebration, hosted behind fortified private security grids, the champagne flows until a fatal calculated execution sequence triggers. As the midnight clock flatlines and a prominent corpse is registered on the floorboard plans, the estate's defensive automated perimeters lock down completely, trapping a select group of beautiful, highly toxic suspect assets inside a localized psychological testing chamber. Behind the host's pristine legacy facade and elite charitable metrics lies an intricate matrix of systemic exploitation, a history of targeted financial ruins, and a cold, calculation-heavy extortion archive. As the hostile investigative interrogation phases enter an increasingly lethal terminal tier across a ticking clock timeline, the unauthorized counter-surveillance and radical secret mining reveals that everyone present was explicitly lured to the estate for a final reckoning. The standard boundaries of polite civilian etiquette and peaceful high society polite protocols collide, and our central protagonists run completely out of standard diplomatic escape vectors. She is thrust directly into an active, unseen war behind the reinforced glass, where deceptive partners masking their true tracking coordinates and a ruthless shadow network launch aggressive countermeasures to permanently suppress her survival files. The tactical parameters instantly explode as their historical and survival warfare turn completely active, transforming the sleek minimalist ballrooms, dark infinity pool decks, and private fortified residential rooms into a volatile psychological pressure cooker and a physical battle zone. Our protective, hyper-vigilant heroine is forced to deploy her massive intuitive tradecraft, elite behavioral mapping skills, and raw physical stamina to preserve her focus before her adversary's relentless calculation-heavy proximity containment phase permanently deletes her boundaries. The threat vector remains purposeful and resolute, determined to employ deep digital extortion loops, continuous professional gaslighting, and persistent dominance to shatter her defense, only to realize her hardened survival protocols and shifting counter-narratives match their opponent's raw tactical speed step for step. Every midnight interrogation breakthrough, every silent choice to stand off against an encroaching adversary behind standard architectural barriers, and every intense moment of channeling raw, unyielding survival mechanics chips away at her reliance on original peaceful rules. What follows is an exceptional, high-stakes war of perspective, tactical position, and raw human grit. We watch the Predator Network's deceptive perimeters completely unwrapped, as Torre reveals that the true victory requires more than just surviving an initial corporate audit or managing an invasive group alibi. It demands an absolute, uncompromising defense of individual dignity, personal truth, and systemic survival against a cold, calculating machine of domestic manipulation and psychopathic supremacy. While our central characters smooth over each other's psychological and defensive blind spots with devastating analytical force, creating a fiercely protective, absolute web of dark, possessive loyalty around their building alliance, a brutal series of close-quarters tactical confrontations and high-stakes evidentiary breakthroughs shifts the clock into its terminal phase, proving that iconic, terrifying legacy figures from the broader elite underworld have tracked them to their final outpost. To survive the impending locked grid trap and permanently secure her sanctuary, our resilient protagonist must unleash an absolute, unyielding defense of her final boundary lines. It is a psychological thriller, locked room whodunit noir, elite society mystery, high-velocity contemporary puzzle masterpiece that treats deep relational logistics and intense structural friction with elite precision. The tension here burns with a sharp, calculation-heavy intensity. We are talking about that high-frequency, one uncovered blackmail tape triggers a fatal ballroom showdown energy, where a sudden pause during an active franchise tactical briefing, an unexpected shift in an adversary's protective physical posture during a high-stakes standoff confrontation, or a heavy, possessive realization that an elite intelligence operative has completely mapped your personal coordinates carries massive structural weight. Torre writes with an exceptionally fresh, vivid, and beautifully blunt voice, capturing the heavy, oppressive atmosphere of a private executive vault before a major corporate takeover, and the distinct, subtle scent of polished mahogany, spilled vintage champagne, expensive fine silks, cold marble dust, dynamic adrenaline, and pure, unadulterated suspense. What truly elevates this contemporary standalone marvel into elite territory is the author's unmatched ability to balance complex, high-stakes relationship dynamics and genuine protective power tradecraft alongside a breathtaking narrative pace and deep emotional hooks. Our protagonists don't rely on unbelievable, superficial Hollywood superhero action tropes. Their immense situational intelligence, strategic patience, and profound survival instincts match the complexity of the chaotic modern corporate and high society underworld they dominate step for step, making their choices to risk everything feel profoundly authentic and deeply gripping. The pacing moves with calculated momentum, tracking intense conversational standoffs and breathtaking tactical breakthroughs before ratcheting up to an absolute, jaw-dropping conclusion that delivers total, hard-earned advancement to the horizon. The Last Party is the definitive pro-level upgrade your high-stakes contemporary thriller and intense asset suspense library demands right now. It is elegant, immensely fast-paced, and utterly unputdownable. It proves that when your entire sanctuary is targeted by a cold, calculating institutional monster, the most revolutionary play you can execute is to lock your perimeters, trust your elite survival training, and fight like hell with your network to rewrite the data. So, secure your personal reading sanctuary, review your emotional defensive perimeters, open your Kindle, and prepare to track the fleet.